Starting with Sarah, who was looking for an apartment to live in. She saw an apartment with a vacant room. The apartment was managed by CDE Properties. Sarah immediately entered the apartment to see the room for rent, to see if it was suitable for her. As Sarah toured the apartment, she saw a very pleasant, clean environment, and the residents looked friendly. She finally reached the rented room. She toured the room and noticed a wall shelf that was not neatly arranged. However, Sarah didn't mind it much. She felt comfortable with the room and the environment. She quickly registered with the apartment manager. The manager asked some basic questions for a new tenant. Sarah lied when asked about pet ownership. She said she didn't have any pets, even though she actually had a cat, because the apartment did not allow pets. That day, Sarah didn't get approval from the apartment, so she stayed at a small motel that night. While working on her tasks, Sarah received a call from her father. It turned out that her parents were having problems, so Sarah chose to find an apartment. The next day, while Sarah was at work, she received a call from the apartment and was approved to stay there. Sarah was happy to finally have a comfortable place to live. After work, Sarah quickly brought her belongings into the apartment. In the apartment hallway, she met a handsome man who turned out to be her next-door neighbor. The man offered to help, but Sarah refused because she was smuggling a cat. From that moment, Sarah had a crush on him because he was not only handsome, but also kind. Sarah was then introduced to the apartment residents. They seemed to be having a good time, and it was a pleasant sight. There, Sarah noticed one strange resident. She felt uncomfortable and scared seeing that odd person. That night, Sarah woke up to the sound of pipes making noise behind the wall. The pipes made noise continuously throughout the night. This happened every night until she felt exhausted from lack of sleep. One afternoon, while she was in her room, someone slipped a letter under her door. Sarah opened the letter and was shocked to find a warning and harsh words from someone complaining about her cat. She was astonished. In such a warm apartment community, it was hard to believe someone could be so harsh. She quickly went out of her room, looking around and seeing the residents smiling kindly. Clearly, it couldn't be them, she thought. Until she saw the strange person again. She suspected that this odd person was the one who slipped the letter. The next day, when Sarah was at work, her colleague offered to visit her apartment after noticing how sad and exhausted she looked. This colleague wanted to cheer her up, considering that Sarah had no friends at the office. She might be the only friend she had outside the apartment community. That evening at the apartment, Sarah shared how tired she was due to her problems with her father, lack of sleep because of the nightly noise, unfinished work deadlines, and the apartment resident who disliked her having a cat. Her friend cheered her up. After that, Sarah regained her spirit. That night, when Sarah was sleeping, she woke up again, not because of the noise, but because of a burning smell. Sarah walked towards the source of the smell, and it turned out the oven was on. Sarah began to feel uneasy, and she was right. When she opened the oven, her cat was already roasted. Sarah was extremely shocked. Shortly after, someone from behind grabbed and tied her to a chair. Sarah immediately thought it was the strange person she had seen, but it turned out to be her handsome neighbor. Sarah was shocked a second time. Not only was her cat dead, but the culprit was the man she had a crush on. Sarah then tried to escape. When she exited the room, she encountered another resident and asked for help. Unexpectedly, this person was the same. She grabbed Sarah's hair, and from behind she was electrocuted until she fell weak. Sarah was shocked for the third time. None of the residents helped her, and they were all the same. Her suffering didn't end there. The next morning, Sarah woke up in her room, which was now set up like a prison. The manager and the handsome man came to explain that they were going to make Sarah a better person by following their rules. The man told Sarah to place her hands on the wall. It turned out that the patched-up spots on the wall were from previous victims. At that moment, Sarah realized there were many victims before her. They threatened to hurt Sarah if she didn't comply. Sarah's daily routine then became sticking to the wall, drinking, being advised, over and over until she went mad. One day, Sarah could no longer stick to the wall and fell. The manager immediately came, and the handsome man nailed Sarah's hand to the wall without hesitation. Sarah remained in that position continuously until she was half crazed and forcibly pulled her nailed hand off. She fainted immediately. When she woke up, everyone welcomed her and congratulated Sarah for passing the first test of becoming a better person, according to their version. She then underwent the next test, answering questions honestly while hooked up to a lie detector. The manager also gave her a book containing their life guidelines, a book that explained how they became this way. Sarah was told to read the book thoroughly, brainwashed. She was then allowed to engage in normal activities, but remained under surveillance because every room had CCTV, and the front door could only be opened by the manager. Sarah didn't dare to escape from that place. One night, while tasked with monitoring the CCTV, she saw an elderly woman having difficulty breathing. She immediately reported it, and the apartment residents quickly handled the situation, saving the elderly woman. The next day, when everyone gathered to honor the elderly woman, an unexpected event occurred. It turned out that everyone was there to bid farewell before she was executed because she could no longer contribute much to their community. Sarah found this utterly insane. The people in this apartment were truly cruel. Sarah resumed her daily activities, reading the book, helping with apartment tasks, answering questions. One day, Sarah was deemed worthy and had passed all tests to become a new person. She underwent a ceremony to mark her transformation. Sarah was branded with their community's symbol. Another shocking event happened. Her new life was set to become the companion of Lester, the strange person, replacing his wife who had died a few years ago. Shocked, but Sarah couldn't resist the apartment residents' wishes. Eventually, Sarah had to share a room with Lester. When Lester wanted to engage with Sarah, now his wife, Sarah was saved by the manager's arrival. The manager called her because unexpectedly, Sarah's father had come to the apartment. The manager gave her a choice: send her father away and never return, or they would kill him. Sarah met her father and spoke harshly, breaking his heart, so he left. She chose this to prevent her father's murder. The next day, the apartment was reopened for the next victim. From the CCTV, Sarah saw her colleagues signing up for the apartment. From this point, we could see Sarah's initial experience from the apartment residents' perspective. The victims were monitored from the beginning via CCTV in their rooms. The nightly noise was prearranged, using audio installed in the walls. All social media and nearby contacts were manipulated to distance the victims, ensuring no one would search for them. When Sarah's friend was in the empty room, unlike Sarah, she refused to place her hands on the wall. This angered the manager, who attempted to punish her by nailing her ears. Sarah was asked to hold the tool used to injure her friend. Doubt crept into Sarah, especially when her friend reminded her of the encouraging words she had once spoken to Sarah. In that moment, Sarah realized and immediately stabbed the manager. Sarah and her friend tried to escape from that place, but unfortunately, her friend was shot by the manager, who was still conscious. Furious about this, Sarah immediately stabbed the manager wildly. Sarah tried to run from the apartment, but everyone blocked her way. Without thinking twice, Sarah shot the handsome man dead and ran to the exit. As she was about to exit the front door, Sarah was caught. Unexpectedly, Lester, shooting the person who captured Sarah and pushing her out of the apartment, sacrificing himself. Sarah then ran away from the apartment and tried to seek help from another apartment. However, to her shock, Sarah found that the other apartment had the same symbol as her apartment. Soon after, the alarm of the apartment she approached went off, followed by alarms from other apartments in the complex. Sarah laughed hysterically. It turned out that the entire block was part of the same community. The film ended with Sarah running down the street away from the block. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.